Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you've ever reached the end of an absolutely exhausting workday feeling like you accomplished exactly nothing of real value, well, you definitely aren't alone. Today, we're diving straight into this modern epidemic of fragmented attention, and more importantly, we're mapping out a beginner-friendly path to finally reclaim your focus. We're going to fix this. Here's our instructional roadmap. We're covering the shallow work epidemic, auditing your routine, choosing more depth philosophy, rituals to preserve willpower, defeating workplace distractions, and finally, the long game of focus. Let's jump right in. Section 1. The shallow work epidemic. Drowning in distraction. So, why do modern knowledge workers feel constantly busy, yet struggle to actually produce meaningful work? Honestly, it essentially boils down to decision fatigue. Just think about this sheer contrast between letting network tools completely dictate your day versus taking control proactively with deep work. On one hand, you have reactive work. You know the drill, checking email first thing, jumping at every single instant message, just constant context switching. The problem is, every time you switch, it leaves behind this attention residue that severely tanks your cognitive performance. But on the flip side, we have proactive work. When you structure time blocks for sustained focus, you're literally rewiring your brain. That intense focus wraps your neural pathways in myelin, which lets your brain cells fire faster and way cleaner. That right there, that's how you master hard things quickly. Moving on to Section 2, audit your daily routine, identifying the shallows. Because hey, before we can start building shiny new habits, we've got to clear the rubble and recognize what's secretly draining your cognitive energy every single day. I'd highly recommend grabbing a pen and using this beginner's checklist to really audit your day. Ask yourself, are your daily tasks non-cognitively demanding? Are they mostly just logistical? Are you doing them while totally distracted by your phone or your open plan office? Let's be real. If an intelligent machine or a brand new hire could easily replicate the task, and it's not creating any new value in the world, you're stuck in the shallows. Somewhere along the line, busyness became a false proxy for actual productivity, and we need to break that cycle. Section 3. Choose your depth philosophy, the strategy. Now it's time to find a deep work strategy that actually fits into your real-world, messy schedule. You basically have 4 main options to choose from here. First is the monastic approach, cutting yourself off completely. Great if you're a secluded novelist, but yeah, not super practical for the rest of us. Then there's bimodal, which allows for long stretches of depth, like retreating for a few days a week. The journalistic approach means jumping into deep work whenever you have a random free 30 minutes, but honestly, that requires a highly trained mind. So, for complete beginners, the absolute best move is the rhythmic method. You systematically carve out a fixed time, say 7 to 8:30 a.m. every single day, and you just keep that chain going. That brings us to Section 4, rituals to preserve willpower, the execution. The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that willpower, it's a finite resource. We have to rely on smart systems instead of just pure motivation. By building 3 totally frictionless steps into your daily routine, you dramatically drop the amount of willpower you need to transition into unbroken concentration. Step 1. Decide exactly where you'll work. Having a dedicated physical location signals to your brain that it is time to focus. Step 2, define exactly how you'll work. Set some really strict rules. Tell yourself, okay, phone goes in another room and absolutely no web browsers. And step 3, figure out how you'll support the work. Maybe that's brewing a fresh cup of coffee, throwing on an instrumental playlist, or even hanging a literal do not disturb sign. You're just removing that internal negotiation so your brain can slide right into the zone. And keeping track of your progress can be incredibly simple. Take a look at author Cal Newport's actual tracker here. It's quite literally just tally marks on a piece of paper. The time you spend at a state of deep work is your lead measure. It's the actual behavior you can control right now in the present. Seeing those marks physically grow day by day is a surprisingly powerful way to align your habits and keep that momentum going strong. No fancy ops required. All right, Section 5, defeating workplace distractions, the defense. Because look, even with the best habits in the world, the modern office, with the endless instant messaging, the open floor plans, the back-to-back meetings, it is going to fight back. To effectively drain those shallows, you want to schedule every minute of your day using time blocking. But notice how messy a revised plan gets compared to the original ideal version? You will get interrupted. Things will take longer than expected, and that is totally fine. Just cross it out, use overflow blocks, and redraw. The goal isn't to be a robot. The goal is maintaining a thoughtful say in your time rather than letting an out-of-control inbox dictate your entire day. You can also arm yourself with some highly practical defensive tactics. First up, eat the frog. Tackle your most cognitively demanding task first thing in the morning when your energy is at its absolute peak. Do not, I repeat, do not check your email first. Next, instead of just trying to avoid the internet, actually schedule specific blocks for when you're allowed to be distracted. You can also try Roosevelt dashes. This is where you give yourself an intense, almost uncomfortably tight artificial deadline to finish a task, which forces your brain into interval training for focus. Be hard to reach by setting up sender filters. And finally, you absolutely must establish a strict shutdown ritual. Say, 5:30 p.m., you review incomplete tasks, plan them for tomorrow, and shut down completely. This overcomes the Zeigarnik effect, that nagging feeling where incomplete tasks dominate your attention, and it allows your brain to genuinely rest. Which leads us to our final section, the long game of focus, sustainable resilience. We really need to shift our mindset away from this frantic short-term productivity and toward building long-term, sustainable focus. Remember, true focus isn't built on motivation at all. It reduces cognitive drag and relies purely on consistency and structure. Well-designed systems will always outlast willpower. Burnout isn't usually caused by working too many hours. It's almost always caused by constant decision fatigue. Having to constantly choose, react, and recalibrate all day long just saps your mental energy. But by using the routines we've talked about today, you front-load those decisions. You stop waiting for sudden spikes of motivation, and instead you build this incredibly reliable, quiet capacity for deep work. So as you start auditing your own routines today, I want to leave you with this question. Will you continue to let other people's emergencies dictate your daily schedule? Or are you finally ready to step out of the shallows and design a life of deep, meaningful work? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now, go find your focus.